Peace be upon you all, and welcome to a new episode. Today, I'm going to tell you a true story that will make you think a million times before letting any conflict at home get out of hand. It's the story of a young woman named Yasmine Essam, 27 years old. She lived a normal life, working as an Arabic language teacher, until suddenly, on October 8th, 2024, her life ended in a way you wouldn't believe. Imagine this. A taxi driver named Mohammed was driving with his friend in the front seat. In the back sat Yasmine Essam, holding her baby daughter Lynn, who was only 1 year and 4 months old. Suddenly, the driver heard muffled screams, loud thuds, and saw blood splattering on the seat. He stopped the car, looked behind him, and found Yasmine stabbed 4 times with a knife, 2 of them in the neck, while she was trying to protect her daughter with her hands, which were covered in cuts. She got out of the car, took a few steps, then collapsed. The ambulance arrived, but her wounds were fatal. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. This wasn't just an accident. It was the result of a premeditated plan, built-up conflicts, and jealousy that turned her husband into her worst nightmare. Before we start our story, don't forget to like and share the episode so it can reach as many people as possible, and stay tuned every Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday for a new story. Without further delay, let's dive deep into today's case. The story began in November 2020, when Yasmine Essam, a 24-year-old woman at the time, was in her final year of university. She dreamed of graduating and becoming a respected teacher. She lived with her family in Abu Qir, Alexandria. The El Fala family was well off. They owned land and apartments. Her father, Issam Mohammed, was a kind man who was always ready to help others, whether financially or with advice. Yasmine had only one sister and was very close to her aunt Afaf Mohammed, known to people as Ayat El Fala, a media personality and a strong supporter of the family in times of crisis. Yasmine was quiet, intelligent, and loved reading and teaching poetry. She always smiled and told her mother she planned to pursue a master's degree after graduation. At the same time, there was a man named Mohammed El Safi, 31 years old, who worked as an assistant engineer in a private company with a monthly salary of about 3,000 Egyptian pounds, around $190 at that time. He lived in Kafr el Dawar, in Bahira Governorate, a man who appeared calm and religious, holding a commerce degree. He had worked in Saudi Arabia for 2 years but returned to Egypt hoping to settle down. His financial situation was difficult, and he dreamed of having a home and children, often feeling that life was unfair to him. What brought Yasmine and Mohammed together wasn't a grand love story. It was a traditional arranged marriage. On January 15th, 2021, Mohammed's sister, who knew Yasmine from an old friendship, introduced the two families. She said that Mohammed was a kind man with good morals, who would treat Yasmine well and build a stable life with her. The families met and the official engagement took place. It lasted 10 full months, and everything seemed perfectly fine. On October 10th, 2021, they got married. The wedding was simple, attended by family and friends, a joyful event for everyone. As a wedding gift, Issam Mohammed gave his daughter a small apartment in Towsoon worth about £1.3 million, around $83,000. The apartment was registered in Yasmine's name only to secure her future. Mohammed was happy at first, but deep inside, a seed of jealousy began to grow. The apartment was hers, not theirs, while his small salary of £3,000 barely covered debts and monthly obligations. After marriage, The first few months were wonderful. Yasmine, now 25 years old, worked as a teacher at an educational center in Abu Qir. She earned around £5,000 a month and helped with household expenses. She even bought clothes for Mohammed from her own salary. Mohammed continued his job as an assistant engineer, but his pay disappeared quickly into bills. Yasmine quietly covered the rest, and her parents also sent them £2,000 monthly to help them live comfortably and save for the future. In December 2021, they started talking about having children. Yasmine told Mohammed she wanted a daughter, and he agreed, saying he would name her Lynn after his grandmother. Tension began when Mohammed asked Yasmine why she spoke to her mother every day. She replied, "They're my family, Mohammed. I can't cut them off." In February 2022, Yasmine discovered she was pregnant, and they were both thrilled. On April 15, 2023, their baby girl Lynn was born. Their joy was indescribable. Yasmine was a perfect mother from day one, but beneath the surface, jealousy was slowly growing. Mohammed disliked how close Yasmine was to her family. She called her mother twice a day, visited her Aunt Afaf weekly, and he felt she didn't fully belong to him. His mother, living in Kafr el-Dawar, began poisoning his mind through phone calls. "Keep her away from her family," she told him. "They control you both and make you live under their mercy." Shortly after that, Mohammed's cousins visited them and started saying that Yasmine didn't respect him, out of envy for the apartment that Essam Mohammed had bought her. This increased the tension. The first big argument happened when Mohammed told Yasmine not to visit her family so often. She replied, "They're my family, Mohammed, and that's my right." He calmed down eventually, and they reconciled. In August 2023, Yasmine returned to work after maternity leave. Her salary increased slightly, and she began contributing more toward Lynn's expenses. Mohammed felt a new kind of jealousy of her independence. In September 2023, her Aunt Afaf came to visit and gave Yasmine motherhood advice, while Mohammed listened silently, growing angrier inside. He began to think to himself that her family controlled everything in their lives. Mohammed used to talk to his mother and tell her, "Yasmine doesn't change," and his mother would reply, "Be firm with her. Cut her off from them." The tension kept growing, and in January 2024, a small argument broke out about the apartment. Mohammed said, "This apartment belongs to both of us," but Yasmine replied, "It's in my name, and my father is the one who bought it." Then on February 14, 2024, everything turned upside down. It was an ordinary day. Yasmine was on the phone with her mother, telling her about her day at school and about Lynn, who had just started taking her first tiny steps. Mohammed overheard the conversation, and suddenly his anger exploded like a volcano. He raised his voice and shouted, "Didn't I tell you to stop talking to your family completely? They're trying to break us apart and control you." The argument quickly escalated into violence. Mohammed grabbed a black plastic bag from the kitchen, put it around her neck, and tried to strangle her on the balcony, saying, "If you don't listen to me, I'll finish you off for good." Yasmine screamed loudly. The neighbors heard the noise and rushed over, forcing their way in to separate them. She managed to escape with baby Lynn to her parents' house. That same day, she was in complete shock, telling her mother, "He was really going to kill me. I want a divorce immediately." Her mother tried to calm her down, but the whole family stood by her. Her father said, "I'll file a report," and her Aunt Afaf said, "My dear, that's not a man. He's a danger to your life and to Lynn's. Go to a lawyer right now." The next day, Yasmine stayed with her parents and began consulting a lawyer about divorce. She completely refused to return to the apartment. Mohammed called her that day and said, "I'm sorry. It was a moment of anger." but she hung up. The next day, he went to her parents' house, begging for forgiveness. But her father told him, "She's not going back. We're filing for divorce." Yasmine spent 3 full months living with her family, trying to file for divorce officially. She went to court and rejected all of Muhammad's attempts at reconciliation. During that time, Muhammad found out that Yasmine had inherited money from her late grandfather, around 1.5 million Egyptian pounds, about $34,000 in 2024. She used a large part of it to buy a new apartment in Abu Qir, very close to her parents' house, worth about 1.3 million pounds, and registered it in her own name to protect herself and Lynn from any future problems. That made Muhammad's jealousy burn even more. He said to himself, "It's her money, and her family controls her. I won't let this go." In May 2024, after intense family pressure, Muhammad's family went to Essam Muhammad, Yasmine's father, to beg for reconciliation, and Yasmine's relatives also said, "Let's make peace, for Lynn's sake." They finally agreed to reconcile. The family sold the old apartment in Tausun and bought the new one in Abu Qir, and Muhammad agreed to live there on the condition that the apartment be registered in both their names. Yasmine returned to the apartment, even though she didn't want to, but she did it for her daughter Lynn. They went back to living together, but tension filled every moment. Muhammad began gradually isolating her, forbidding her from visiting her family more than once a week. After their reconciliation, Muhammad threatened her for the first time, saying, "If you don't obey me, I'll end this once and for all." She secretly called her mother and said, "Mom, I'm scared." The fights became more frequent. 2 weeks before the murder, he threatened her again, more violently this time, saying, "I'll kill you. I won't let you go if you don't listen to me." That same day, Yasmine called her aunt Afaf Muhammad and said, "Auntie, I don't know what to do. He's going to kill me one day." Afaf replied, "My dear, stay strong. I'll go with you to file a report." But Yasmine hesitated, afraid for Lynn. Muhammad decided in his mind that he wouldn't let her live. His jealousy over her financial independence, which had grown after the inheritance, and his hatred toward her family, who always supported her, made him see murder as the only solution. He told himself, "This is the only way to end it, to finally have peace and control over Lynn and the apartment." He started planning. One day, after Yasmine left for school, he sat alone in the apartment, researching on his phone about fatal stab wounds, searching for parts of the body that cause instant death, like the neck and chest. He decided that a knife would be the best weapon, easy to hide in a bag and quick to use. On June 1st, 2024, he was talking to his mother on the phone and said, "I'm tired of Yasmine and her family. They're destroying my life every single day." His mother replied, "Try to make peace with her." But in his mind, he thought, "She'll never change." Then, on October 5th, he told Yasmine, "Let's go visit my mother in Kafr el-Dawar. Let's end all these problems and live peacefully again." With Lynn, Yasmine agreed, took Lynn with her, and told her aunt, "I'm going to visit my mother-in-law. I'll call you tonight when I'm back." On the morning of October 8th, 2024, they went to Kafr el-Dawar and visited his mother. But Muhammad had brought the knife, hidden in the house. He started an argument with Yasmine and tried to attack her in the room, raising the knife. But his mother saw him and stopped him, saying, "No, son, not here. If you want to do this, do it away from me." On the road, his mother had known about his plan for a week. She had seen the knife in his bag earlier but said nothing, only telling him, "Do it in the car." His aunt noticed his behavior and tried to stop him, but he took Yasmine and Lynn and left around 12 noon. On the road, they stopped to take a taxi, They rode with a driver named Mohammed, who was in the front with his friend, while in the back sat Mohammed El-Safi, Yasmine, and Lynn on her lap. Around 1 p.m., suddenly, Mohammed pulled the knife out of the bag and stabbed Yasmine in the shoulder. She screamed and covered Lynn with her hands. He stabbed her again, this time in the right side of her neck. As blood began to pour out, she tried to defend herself, her hands covered in cuts, but he continued. A third stab to her chest, and a fourth to her neck. Yasmine managed to pull out her phone to call her mother, but it fell from her hands. The taxi driver felt the seat shaking and stopped the car. He turned around and caught Mohammed, who was trying to escape. They seized the knife and drove straight to Al-Montaza 2nd Police Station. Yasmine got out of the car, took 2 steps, and collapsed. The ambulance arrived shortly after, but the doctor declared her dead. The stab wounds had severed her carotid artery. The investigations began immediately on October 8, 2024. Police arrived at the crime scene and arrested Mohammed El-Safi on the spot. They transferred Yasmine's body to the morgue and took Lynn to medical care to ensure she was unharmed. At the police station, the initial interrogation began. Mohammed partially confessed, claiming it was a violent argument and that he lost control. However, the taxi driver Mohammed and his friend both testified that the stabbing was deliberate and that there had been no argument at all, adding that Yasmine was desperately trying to protect Lynn. On October 9, 2024, at 10 a.m., the public prosecution ordered a 4-day detention for Mohammed, seized the knife as evidence, and requested the forensic report urgently. He was transferred to Alexandria Prison. The forensic report confirmed that the cause of death was 4 precise stab wounds, including 2 in the neck that severed the carotid artery, causing instant internal bleeding. There were defensive cuts on her right hand, indicating an attempt to protect herself. The knife was brand new, freshly sharpened, and had only Mohammed's fingerprints. The prosecution interrogated the main witnesses. The driver said, "I was coming from Kafr el-Dawar. I felt the seat shaking, turned around, and saw Mohammed stabbing her violently. We stopped and caught him before he could escape." His friend confirmed the same statement. On October 12, 2024, Mohammed's mother was interrogated. She admitted she had seen the knife in his bag 2 days earlier and knew of his intentions from what he said. But she told him, "Don't do it in the house. Do it away, on the road." This caused prosecutors to suspect her of indirect involvement. The aunt confirmed, "I was there during the argument. He tried to attack Yasmine in the room, but we stopped him and threw him out. I saw the knife myself." The prosecution reviewed Yasmine's phone records and found a call to her mother 1 hour before the murder. Her voice was trembling as she said, "Mom, Mohammed hit me at his mother's house. He really wanted to kill me." Then the call was suddenly cut off. Finally, Mohammed confessed, admitting that he had planned the murder since February 2024 after the first choking attempt. He bought the knife specifically for it and said he intended to kill her at his mother's house. But when his mother stopped him, he decided to do it in the car instead. He said he did it because Yasmine was financially better off thanks to her inheritance and the help from her family, and that he hated them all. The police handed Lynn over to her grandmother, Yasmine's mother, after a medical check confirmed she was completely unharmed. On November 15, 2024, Mohammed's cousins were also interrogated. They admitted to encouraging him, but claimed they were only joking and didn't mean it seriously. The prosecution ordered a preliminary psychological evaluation for Mohammed. The report concluded that he displayed clear narcissistic traits and pathological jealousy toward his wife's independence, but he was fully sane and criminally responsible. The final trial began on March 10th, and the court sentenced him to death. The case was referred to the Mufti to confirm his initial opinion regarding Qisas retribution. The death sentence by hanging was ultimately confirmed on charges of premeditated murder. This story, everyone, is not just a tragic crime. It's a very important lesson for all of us, for every family, every mother and daughter. Imagine if Yasmine had divorced after the last threat. She would still be alive today, raising Lynn, teaching her students, and shaping a brighter future. But intense family pressure, fear of social judgment, and stigma forced her back into danger. This wasn't just her mistake. It's a mistake of society as a whole. Everyone. Sometimes a small, immediate loss is better 1,000,000 times than a distant gain. If your daughter says, "My husband threatened to kill me twice," tell her, "Go now. Your safety and life are more important than anything else." Society is changing rapidly. Being divorced is not shameful. On the contrary, divorced women raise doctors, engineers, and lawyers and open doors to a new, successful life. Today, women are strong, and their children will build a better world. As for Mohammed El-Safi, who seemed quiet at first, jealousy and the desire for total control drove him to plan murder. This is a warning for all men. Jealousy is not love, it's a disease. Get help before you destroy a life. And Mohammed's mother, who knew his intentions yet stayed silent and said, "Do it away from here." This is a warning to all mothers. Your daughter or daughter-in-law is your responsibility. Don't let fear or family loyalty put her life at risk. Report it immediately. In the end, Yasmine Essam is gone, but her voice still screams loudly. And with that, today's episode ends. If this is your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell to get all the new content. Stay tuned for a new episode. Goodbye.